For over 10 years now, I've been making fun little videos about how strange and dark the Pokédex entries can be. And now, Pokemon gives me a game where the creatures are actively trying to kill you. This should be fun. So, hey, how's it going? It's been a minute. So what happened during the time skip? My son grew from this big to this big. I worked on a full-time job for a year, and Pokemon released my favorite game from them in the last decade. Pokemon Legends Arceus was just so much fun. It's janky, it's experimental, it's weird, I loved it. I got good news and I got bad news. This Pokédex is unlike any other I've covered before. On the bad side, it is tiny. It's just 250 entries, and there's only one version of the game this time around instead of the usual two. That's not a lot of ammo, especially if I don't want to double dip from old entries in the series. But on the bright side, this dex is funny. It's often written in the first person by Professor Laventon. This delightful goofball often describes Pokemon using his rudimentary knowledge of the past, leading to a Pokédex that is truly one of a kind. Let's party like it's 2011 and dig through this crusty book to find its silliest and darkest secrets. We're starting things off with a blast from the past, all the way back to my nearly unwatchable first Pokédex videos, where one of my entries talked about how weird it was that they compared two Pokemon strength levels to an Indian elephant.
You know, like the ones in our real world.
And with Raichu's Arceus entry, that old elephant in the room has finally been addressed. It can discharge bursts of electricity exceeding 100,000 volts. A single strike with that amount of power would incapacitate one of the Caparaja of my homeland. So all these years later, Pokemon can bury this strange connection from the Pokemon world to the real world with a Pokemon based on the Indian elephant. Things get a little deeper when you realize that Caparaja itself originates from a different region than Galar. India region when? And it's also kind of messed up when I learned that in the real world, our Galar equivalent recently banned captive elephants. A final funny side note, Electivire is only listed as having 20,000 volts of power, effectively making it just 1/5 the power of a Raichu. Next up, have you seen this Mon? Because according to Arceus, you shouldn't have. No records exist of Togetic being seen in the wilds. Okay, but here's the thing. No records of it in the wilds? It's here. It's here and here and here. And this dex entry didn't even exist until I caught one in the wilds and recorded it in the dex. Another absurd entry comes to us with Heracross. Heracross itself demonstrates tremendous power. It's capable of throwing several people trained in the traditional arts of war at once. This one gets a laugh out of me because it's so randomly specific. You could just say he throws people, but no, it hyper-specifically needs to be people trained in the traditional arts of war. Also, Heracross is statistically the height and weight of, like, a 13-year-old, making the image of this thing chucking an entire platoon just very funny to me. An even stranger visual goes to Shaman Skyform, although to be honest, the real star of this entry is Professor Laventon himself. Upon taking in the scent of a particular rare flower, Shaman is enveloped in light, and its tiny body transforms. I took a whiff of the flower myself, but alas, my body remained unchanged. I just love the thought of Laventon watching a Shaman go full Sailor Moon transformation, only to immediately start huffing the stuff. As for what Laventon was hoping to transform into, your guess is as good as mine. Next up, we're gonna hand it to Ambipom. To affirm their kinship, members of this species will form a ring by linking their newly doubled tails together. On rare occasions, humans have been accepted into such rings. The only image stranger than a group of Ambipom holding their tail hands in a circle is a group of Ambipom holding their tail hands in a circle with humans. Is this a cult thing?
Feels like a cult thing.
And speaking of cult things, Murkrow's entry leaves us with some pretty creepy chanting. Widely shunned as a bearer of ill fortune, upon crossing paths with this creature, I've been told one must chant, "Workrum, workrum, bad luck, don't come," as a protective incantation. Okay, so this is a very strange backwards name chant incantation thing, but the logic is pretty funny if you apply it to other situations.
Snake! Snake!
This game's Nasty Award goes to who other than our skunk lineup. Stunky returns with its foul ways with poison that gushes from its aft end and is accompanied by an utterly evil-smelling odor with such potency that one whiff can induce memory loss. That is a lot of disgusting adjectives, yet somehow, I think Big Brother Skuntank wins this round, with a smell so bad that even he can't stand it. Sprays a poisonous fluid to take down prey. Sometimes, unable to stomach the stench of its own fluid, it leaves the bested prey uneaten. Now, I've heard that everyone likes their own brand, but I guess there are some disgusting exceptions. Now, one of my favorite bits in these videos is unearthing how much descriptive gore the otherwise kid-friendly Pokemon games can sneak into the decks. And I'll be honest, for a game that constantly reminds you how the Pokemon are gonna kill you, the Arceus Dex was surprisingly light on that. However, some entries like Gliscor are still there to feed us. And itself. It glides soundlessly on pitch-black wings and sinks sharp fangs into the throat of its prey. It takes on a look of satisfaction once it has entirely drained its prey of blood. You know, I've just realized I've become a bit of a sicko, haven't I? Once upon a time, these merciless killings disgusted me, but now I'm like, oh boy, can't wait to add this to the videos. Gotta do it for the content. At this point, I'm sure you're wondering, this is a somewhat new region, so where the heck are all the entries for all the new Pokemon? I'm very sad to report that these new Mon entries just aren't very spicy. They're not very creepy, they're not very weird, they're just kind of there. Basculegion is almost interesting, with armor made of souls of its fallen comrades, but thankfully we do have one true Rookie of the Year winner, Hisuian Zoroark. With its disheveled white fur, it looks like an embodiment of death. Heedless of its own safety, Zoroark attacks its nemesis with a bitter energy so intense, it lacerates Zoroark's own body. You guys see that? Is that a brownie pan? Because that's a whole lot of edge. As the great Father Cockroach once said, cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort. Suffocation. No breathing. Don't give a muck if I cut my arm bleeding. And my favorite entry from Arceus is actually a 3-part saga. I love Professor Laventon's first-person perspective, so imagine his pure confusion when a man of the past comes face-to-face with an artificial, man-made computer abomination, made available only through a rift in time and space. It has no discernible heartbeat and does not seem to draw breath, and yet it appears to function without issue. I cannot even begin to explain this utterly bizarre anomaly. While it now exhibits many new gestures and expressions, its biology remains inscrutable. A curious item induced this evolution. This Pokemon's offensive capabilities have greatly increased, but the strangeness of its behavior is magnified in equal measure. This worries me. Today's video is brought to you by me. It's just me. I'm playing, you guys. Thank you so much for watching today's video. It's been a long, crazy year, working full-time, becoming a father. I needed that time off, but I also feel like I need to be back here. I loved making this video, and I cannot wait to continue to make some of our best content yet on this channel. I want to go experimental, I want to make things that look incredible, I want to make things that are interesting, lore-driven topics, even if they aren't necessarily videos that get great viewership in today's day and age. I will need your guys' support, and that could come in the future in the form of something like a Patreon, but for now, just leave a like, subscribe, maybe turn on notifications, maybe share the video with a friend who you used to watch Jwit's content with. Whatever it is, you already watched today's video, so I can't really ask for too much more. I hope you guys have an excellent day, and I'll see you guys next time with some more random nonsense.